Yo guys, this is Nate, and I am back for an audio commentary for the new WCReplays.com. And as per request, I am going to be doing a commentary on the Undead versus Night Elf matchup. So let's go ahead and get this game opened up. Now I'm going to be talking about what I consider to be the greatest menace Night Elf presents to Undead right now, and really why I think this is the hardest matchup for Undead. So let's get this game opened up. Where is it? Where's my game? Here it is. Okay. So the map is Plunder Isle, and the players are me, slide.viet, as Undead, currently a level 15 player, versus pow.der as Night Elf, who is level 16 with a very nice record. So let's get this game paused at 15 seconds on 1x speed and put it under my vision. Alright, so hopefully you guys are at 15 seconds now, so let's unpause in 3, 2, 1, unpause. So I'm going to choose to go ghouls, basically because it's important that that I have that mobility, and I generally always harass a Night Elf depending on what they're doing. But my plan is to scout them with my starting ghoul, and I'm going to get a DK with a shop for skeletons, and then either harass them or just creep and wait for them to come to me or whatever. And when they tech, though, it can be a much different story, because generally the Night Elf will just back off, or they'll try to harass you depending upon the situation. But what the problem here is that if you're going ghouls, which you're pretty much forced to do in this matchup, if you're going ghouls, then it's very possible that the Night Elf, who is teching, is going to switch over to Dryads, or is going to go right to Dryads, and Dryads absolutely decimate ghouls due to their slow poison, especially because they're tier 2, so you won't have Frenzy. So you can't really fight them, and then you throw in Mountain Giants and you really have problems. And you have an even harder time using Fiends, simply because Mountain Giants completely obliterate them, and it really becomes impossible to micro against that taunt. At least that's my major problem with the Fiends. But so you need to find a counter to them teching. Now, when I see the Night Elf teching, I have a solution to my approach to it rather is a bit different than other stuff that I've seen. But generally, I like to go double Slaughterhouse and switch over to A-bombs to tank instead of ghouls, and then I use meat wagons as my main damage against Dryads. What I like to do is build 1 or 2 Fiends and just mix them in with my army to make the Night Elf player think that I'm switching over to Fiends. Now here, I could have probably gotten my ghoul away. Well, I wouldn't have gotten away, but you can see him running it around his base. This is to make sure that he's not building any buildings that I'm not seeing. I want to get a complete picture of his base. And once you see that your opponent has a DH like that with your ghoul, you're pretty much going to lose the ghoul. And I could have scouted with an acolyte or something, but I don't know. It's not such a big deal if I lose this ghoul here. So at this point I see he's teching, and I see he went DH. So first of all, I'm like, what the hell am I going to do? He's teching, I'm really bad, versus, attacking Night Elf. Simply because Undead doesn't really have an answer to stop the tech. I mean, it's kind of like, old 1.05 or something, whenever it was, you can just tech right to tier 2 and there's no threat from the Undead players. Nothing the Undead players can be able to do to penetrate your base. Even if they go Fiends, you simply can't get enough of them before they hit tier 2 and start producing Mountain Giants. So here I thought he went Mana Burn, and generally when I see a DH first, they go Mana Burn. So I'm just using up all my coils so he won't burn my my Death Knight. So I'm just coiling him. However, it turns out he chooses Immolation. So that was kind of a mistake on my part there. So basically my plan at this point is, now that I see that he's teching, I'm just going to do whatever I can to hurt him a little bit. Now, my best bet is probably just to kill Wood Wisps. Anything that'll slow him down and give me time, because I can't really combat him until I'm tier 3, which is really a problem. So my plan here, again, is just to kill as many wisps as possible, and you'll see, though, I get another opportunity, so I take that opportunity. Also, I'm just using up my mana very quickly. I'm using all my coils due to detonate and mana burn. I didn't get that last coil off. So now I'm looking around. There's nothing really for me to kill except those wisps. So I'm going to go after his gold mine. And this is actually a pretty good tactic, really, because unless he wants to lose a lot of wisps, I can effectively take out his gold mine. So I think this was a pretty good move on my part. And even if he comes in with a DH, he's not going to be able to stop me from killing it. He really needs a lot more wisps to be repairing it. Now the immolation is very effective against all those ghouls. I would still pick the warden first though, simply because at higher levels the DH is not more of a threat. But as the game progresses, the warden just becomes worse and worse for Undead. And Undead cannot touch that level 3 Fan of Knives, especially with the new nerfed healing trolls of Frozen Throne. So I really think that DH is a better second hero for mana burn. Or maybe not even the Demon Hunter. I mean, the fact is, the only really good hero in this matchup against Undead is Warden, because she's so hard to kill. But all the other heroes, especially when they're not the primary hero, are very easy to nuke with the high level Undead. Now here I'm just being careless and I'm losing ghouls, which I really shouldn't be doing. There's no reason for me not to be running here. So this is a bad move on my part to be sticking around. He's got Boots of Speed on top of that. So anyway, now I'm taking to tier 2 here, and initially I'm thinking, okay, he's obviously lore teching. I mean, I'm going to double check on that, but it's pretty clear he's lore teching, and so I should probably switch over to Fiend so I have some piercing damage, since ghouls don't have a prayer against dryads. So I'm going to put up a second crypt, I think, but that was a mistake. So anyway, you see, I left a lot of ghouls at my base, because clearly I don't want to bring in more ghouls along, they'll just get killed, and I'm going to need that extra wood anyway. So I put up that second crypt and I'll cancel that. So now, again, right now I'm basically double checking his base to make sure he's going for lures, and to see if he's going to tier 3. If he's going to tier 3, it's often a good idea to try to expand, to counter expand, whereas if he's going to tier 2, you don't really have a chance, because he can harass you so much, your opponent. But I played pow.der a rematch after this game, and he went straight to tier 3, and I tried to expand, but he had some 4 dryads and just 2 heroes was actually enough to stop my expansion. So you know, you got to be careful about expanding in this matchup, and that ultimately cost me the game. But that doesn't happen in this game. In this game, I don't see him going straight to tier 3. I'm just assuming he's lower teching. Not necessarily a smart assumption, but that's the best option for him, really. So I'm building a Fiend or 2, and now I'm thinking, I take a couple of my ghouls off wood because, well, I don't need that many on wood, and they're perfectly expendable at this point. I'm not going to use them later on. But I get a Fiend or 2 to make him think that I'm going Fiends, and I think he actually says, like, are you switching to Fiends or something? And by making him think that I'm switching to Fiends, that's actually good because he's going to over-counter the Fiends. Clearly not by going Dryads, which are really the biggest threat to me, but by going Mountain Giants, which can be easily handled with Abominations. So, also what's really nice about having Abominations and Meat Wagons, maybe backed by a couple of Fiends, is the Abominations tank very nicely, and then the Meat Wagons, you have to actually micro them properly, but they can sit behind the Abominations and hit the Dryads without anything being able to hit them, including the Dryads. So it's very, very effective if you can micro them properly. You attack around on the Dryads. And then having a couple of Fiends with web generally takes care of Fairy Dragons and so forth, because it's very important to have the statues in your army. Also like to add in a Destroyer or 2. And ultimately you're going for a fairly balanced army. A Fiend or 2, a Destroyer or 2, several A-bombs, and 3 or 4 Mute Wagons. And then, you know, with Tri-Hero. So at this point I'm just focusing on creeping. I know I can't really get his base, and if you turn off Fog of War for a second, you'll see that in fact he's got 2 lures up and he's going to tier 3 for those tier 3 Mountain Giants, I believe. So turn Fog of War back on now, go back to my view. So basically, I know he can't come and kill me outright, so I know I'm pretty safe to not be churning out units. I'm taking it easy. I'm not really like pumping out units or anything, because I know he has just as many units as me. He's not about to come and attack me. He wants to take advantage of his tech. So I'm just creeping a little bit, and keeping even with him on the hero levels. And meanwhile, I'm going to tech myself to tier 3 and get those abominations to deal with the mountain giants. Now, I'm pretty much assuming he's not going to expand because he's teched, but it is very, very important to not allow your opponent to get an expansion. I mean, this applies to any matchup whatsoever. An expansion in this game makes a whole lot of difference. I mean, I can play humans, and that matchup is really in Undead's favor, but if the human has an expansion all game long before you come and rush them or whatever, they can put up a hell of a fight. And so it's very important to deal with expansions properly, at least by harassing them. So it's a very good idea to keep an eye on them. You'll see he's spread out his wisps all over the map if you turn the Fog of War off. And this is a very, very effective tactic, and I would recommend this for all Night Elf players. To put your wisps in, put them all expansions. I see so many Night Elf players not doing that, but it's really great. And it's a really great asset. I think more people should take advantage of. So anyway, now that I'm in tier 3, I'm going to try out those A-bombs. Now, I don't want to engage him yet, but I'm not going to stay out of upkeep for very long. Because it is important for me to have an army, and if you look at his army, he's really starting to build up some units here. And I'm basically looking to go 80-80 with a nice big army, just simply because once I have enough A-bombs in front and enough meat wagons in back, he can't really combat that. And if I have high-level tri-hero, like just the game going on with neither of us having expansion is going to end up in my favor in general. Especially because he didn't go Warden first. But what's also nice about this is that Phantom Knives is not quite so deadly against this. Simply because it's not as effective on A-bombs and so forth. Now you'll see also that I've upgraded my melee attack. This is because it's going to affect both my abominations and my meat wagons, and it's so cheap that I like to put that on the meat wagons, add 10 or 20 damage on them. And generally, if I have enough money, I'll also get the level 1 armor melee upgrade for my abominations. And I've been getting the 1-1 upgrades a lot more. I know I denounced them in the past, but especially because they're good to get when you're staying out of upkeep, or when you can't produce units fast enough. And I just like to get them now. I don't know. Now I'm sending a ghoul up to his base to check on what he's doing. And now I'm seeing he has lures. I have not actually had confirmation that he went lore teching, but now I know that he lore tech, so I'm going to be okay. So I'm continuing with my build now. Now the one thing I haven't really checked is for expansions, which I should really do more. And unfortunately I don't have that effective wisp at all, the basis thing. Now I'm going Crypt Lord 3rd. The Crypt Lord is really most effective in this matchup for dealing with mountain giants, because it breaks you out of the taunt lock you get into, where basically you engage and the mountain giants all taunt and your meat wagons end up hitting the mountain giants, but you can simply impale the mountain giants and your meat wagons, and then so basically it lets you get some hits in on those dryads, which is what you really have to do. And you can see I passed his army towards the middle here with that ghoul, so I know he's coming. I was going to go creep these guys, but I turn around now. And I set myself up for some good positioning, and even though he's got, well, we actually have a similar sized army, but I'm basically putting my meat units out front, and I'm positioning my other stuff in back. And with this build, basically I group my statues, abominations, and my 3 heroes all in group 1, and then I just put my ranged stuff, being meat wagons and fiends, in group 2. And I'm in a great position here because his dryads are getting misses all over the place, and my meat wagon can go. You'll see it's if I would just re-target it, it can hit all the way to those dryads back there, and I'm free to nuke whatever I want of his heroes. That was a pretty crappy ass impale there. I don't know if you guys saw that, but the best thing to do with that impale would just have been to go in I don't know what to call that, like a 10 o'clock direction, hitting those mountain giants and demon hunter, taking them out for a second. Now you can see I'm adding more meat wagons since I only had 1 meat wagon there, because I see he has so many dryads now. But you generally do not want to get more than 3 or maybe 4 meat wagons at the most, simply because they're so vulnerable that it's very dangerous to invest a large amount of your army in them, if that makes sense. And also, if he gets a couple chims or something, which he does do in this game, then those meat wagons go down in like a couple hits, and you can't afford to lose that much of your army. So you can't get like 6, 7 meat wagons. That's going to be suicide. But they are very effective. Having 3 meat wagons all hitting a group of dryads, doing splash damage and siege damage. I mean, you're going to take those dryads out very quickly, and they're a very effective counter if you can keep them alive. So now I'm just focusing on getting more abominations at this point. I know I have a nice advantage, especially I just made him TP yet again, and I've got a nice advantage at this point. I've regulated his expansions, and I'm doing okay. So pretty soon I'm going to try and push my advantage. So you can see I've caught up with him in tech, and now that I got some healing wards, I really have a nice advantage. And all I really have to do is deal with Fan of Knives and so forth, get a healing scroll or 2, and engage him. And he knows he's in trouble. Now it's true, he didn't play great in this game, and he didn't play great in the second game, but I kind of screwed up. But he's certainly a good player, and I intend to play some more games with him. If you guys want some more examples, let me know. Maybe I'll post some other replays with this. So now I'm just dawdling around, wasting time. But so anyway, once you have your advantage, being that you've got this counter to his army, it's very important to press that advantage, because the big counter to this is chims, chimeras, or whatever the hell you want to call them. Simply because they kill abominations and meat wagons and statues very effectively, and having a fiend or 2 is not really going to deal with them. So if you're not keeping an eye on your opponent, and say they get up an expansion or they get up a chimrus or 2, and they get 3 or 4 chims, they're very hard for you to kill without some anti-air, and you can lose your whole army very quickly, or at least your meat wagons. Without the meat wagons, you don't have a prayer against the dryads. And generally, I think that Gargs are a much more effective counter to the chims than our meat wagons, or what am I talking about? Than fiends. Simply because the fiends are going to wed them, and then you can hit them with your units, but they don't really kill them very quickly. And now here, you'll see what I'm doing here is that he's coming in, and I'm in a very bad position. It's very important to keep your meat wagons back. You see that chim killed half the life of the meat wagon in one hit. What I'm doing is I'm just nuking the chimera, and I'm targeting my meat wagons to hit those dryads, and they're doing quite a lot of damage here. And I'm just letting my A-bombs attack whatever they want. And I'm using Absorb Mana on Destroyer to give myself a little extra. And I'm just nuking his heroes a lot once that chim is gone. So it's very important to not let your opponent get a lot of chims. You saw how quickly I started losing those meat wagons there. So you really got to keep an eye on them. And again, if they get a lot of chims, the best bet is really to get a nice group of Gargs and kill them. So now that's game over. Take a look at the scores. Nothing much to see here. I mean, basically it was just a question that, as long as neither of us had an expansion, I'm pretty much going to come out ahead there. We had similar heroes, but the fact is my heroes can kill his heroes, and without his heroes, then I have a big advantage there. So yeah, let me know what you guys think on the forums. Let me know what you want to see next. Let me know if you have any questions and so on and so forth. And I'll see you guys soon.